Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Success Never Sleep. I always let go. Success Never Sleep. I gotta get that better. Success Never Sleeps. It is Friday, August 1st, 2025. I can't believe it's August already. Welcome, my dear friend Jason. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We got a What's on Your Mind show today. I want to see what the people thought. We have some
Good.
questions that we cultivated prior to. I got about 10 questions or so that we can cover and answer, but I want to take questions from the audience as well. So if anybody has any comments, please put them in. As always, let us know where you're tuning in from, what school you're at, what school is yours, and where it is, and then ask us any questions about your business, things like that we can help with today. Obviously, as you know, Jason and I are 2/3 of the mentoring team, plus Brandon. So let's say a half, if you will. My math is not strong. I have people for that. But let's go over some of the quick stuff. Let's get some of the stuff out of the way here. Let's thank our sponsors before we start. And I've also put the links in the show notes and the descriptions. If you need the links, they're already there. It's Tusa, Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and of course, Kin Creative, all companies that we work with in some fashion or another. And trust and love doing business with. So we thank them for being a sponsor of the show today. Another bit of business, we do have It's Time Live Freedom coming up in November from the 8th to the 11th. Hope to see everybody there. I know we'll be out there dispensing wisdom as well as gaining a lot of wisdom as we always do year after year. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody out there. We're going to see some familiar faces. Hopefully we'll see a lot of new faces out this year. But you can find the link at brandonbeliso.com, go into the events. I believe the discount code is still active, if I'm not mistaken. There's probably a few spots left for the discount code, but after that, it's gone because it's only 20 school owners for the 4-day experience. So get yourself signed up for that. And as I said, Jason and I are part of the mentoring team, our group mentoring. It's been an amazing journey so far, and we're looking forward to more of it going on. August is actually, we just finished off some review, which was new for us. So kind of checking back in with people and what they were,
Right.
what the accomplishments they've made, and taking a break from shoving new stuff at them and let them kind of regroup, take a deep breath, and kind of work some of the stuff we've already worked with them on. So I think that was super helpful, and I really enjoyed that. So you could find that. Sign up for a discovery call. We can happily do a free discovery call with you and just kind of get an idea of where your business is at. Again, go to brandonbeliso.com. You'll find the group mentoring links there as well. So, all right, let's see. We have, there he is, Bob Poole. Bob Poole, as always. Can't run a show without Bob Poole. I got the pleasure of meeting Bob Poole in person when he came out here to Boston to the It's Time Live Boston event that we did at my school here. So that was a pleasure. Hopefully we'll get to see him out in San Francisco this year or sometime soon. So hello, Bob. So Jason, how's your summer going? I know your internet's kind of spotty.
Oh man, it's good. Yeah. Let me see if I can fix that.
No problem. I know you're keeping busy over there down in Florida.
Yes, definitely so. Can you hear me?
I can. That's too close. That's just too close. I'm only kidding.
Yeah, let me try something out here.
All
Let's
right.
see if I can remove my hotspot.
There
yeah.
you go.
No. We're doing great. Staying busy. See if I can get set up right here. Maybe that works. So what's really cool is like right now I'm actually. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, like right now, actually at one of our local public schools right now, giving a talk to teachers and all about some of the things we do, and also it's kind of a nice segue going from summer to school time.
Awesome. So you're keeping busy this summer. The summer is tough. Like summer is
Absolutely.
what do you do with summer? We know business slows down in summer between vacations and the summer holds and things like that. People just getting into other sports and stuff like that. So it can be a rough process. And we'll talk about that today. We have some questions about that as well. So we'll get there. We'll definitely get there. Now I send you the list of questions. Was there anyone you wanted to tackle first? Otherwise, I can jump right in.
Yeah, whichever one you want.
All right. This was a good one. This one was actually, I'm going to post it up as well. This was one that was on my mind recently. Let's see if I can get that here. So how do you stay motivated and avoid burnout, especially when progress feels slow? Right. And that's a big one, obviously, for summertime. It's easy to feel burnt out during the summertime when you're kind of going through the motions and people are taking it. It's not usually a new sign up time, although our July was incredible. I'm hoping August turns out to be the same. We had an incredible July. I think a lot of that is to do with, our kin ads and things like that we've done. But yourself, how do you avoid the burnout?
Well, one of the big things, because during the summertime, sometimes we feel like we're spinning our wheels, right? Because we've got just as many people coming in the doors we got going out sometimes. And I think one of the biggest things with that is one, make sure you're plugged into a network. That's one of the great things about our group mentoring is it provides a network of people to plug, let you know you're not there alone, that kind of thing. So having a good support network is huge. Number two, sometimes we talk about the martial arts business so much, we forget about the martial arts training. Sometimes you just need to get on the mat and train. That relieves some of that burnout too. Get you refocused. I mean, that was one of the reasons I wanted to open up a business was because we love martial arts so much, and we forget to do the training sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think those are two very big things,
so much time,
especially in the summertime.
Yeah, absolutely. The business part of it takes up so much of your day-to-day tasks. You forget sometimes to jump on the mats, and sometimes what it feels like just to grab a heavy bag and start pounding away on it. You know what I mean? And just giving it a what's for. That's very freeing and very cathartic, if you will, to get out there and do your training. Grab a buddy, grab a friend, grab somebody you train with. And definitely. Absolutely. I think it's one of the best ways to avoid some of that burnout. It is a time to take stock in the business and see where improvements can be made. We know like that's a great time to give the place a fresh coat of paint because you have less people. If you need to close down the week of 4th of July, less people are going to be there to, have concern about the fact that you're closed for a few days. You know what I mean? So that might be a good time to revitalize your location. Definitely do a clean out. They always say spring clean out, but sometimes spring is pretty busy. You don't have time to do that. So a good summer clean out, of your storage areas, reassessing some of the way you stock your uniforms and your belts and things like that. And, we just did that. We have, our back area and a side area for storage here. And, over the course of the year, even with the systems and everybody trying to do what they need to do, the customer taking care of the customers first, putting the uniform back in exactly the right spot, the right way isn't always first on their mind. So it can get a little janky and get a little jacked up. So it's a great time to take stock and go back in there and say, okay, we have, some time now. Let's go in and, reset this place and set it up for success. And is there a better way? We do that. This is a big exercise we do with my team. And it helped to fill in some of that time for them. It's all right, let's go back in these storage areas. And how do we make this better for you? My team, meaning so you spend more time in those areas, grabbing uniforms and grabbing stuff and doing things and getting stuff from the back room, whether it be cleaning supplies. How do we make that more efficient for you? Is there other things that we need in there? What are we missing? What makes your job easier to do so that you'll be more successful, have a better experience at your job, and you'll end up just giving the clients a better experience. So that was really good for us. The team loved it. They really feel empowered that, we as the business owners aren't just leading the way and saying, all right, this is what I want you to do. Now just shut up and go do it. Them feeling part of the process gives them a lot of power to say, okay, I helped create this system or create this way. And, they took it and now we're all running with it. So that helped a lot for us. Kept the team motivated as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, anytime you can kind of refresh a system anytime you kind of refresh the system or you go through and clean out the the school a little bit, clean it up a little bit, declutter. Declutter is always great because you kind of feel fresh, and you kind of have this weight lifted off of you a little bit there too, because now you're getting rid of some of that old stuff that you don't ever use or you haven't touched in years, and not necessarily filling that space with something else, but just keeping things simple with that, and a good declutter and refresh of systems, and you know having the team have input into that as well will definitely take, not only as a business owner plate, but it also allows them to have input. And now that system, it means more to them because
Yeah.
now you've taken their idea and
Yeah, I mean, everybody likes to feel validated, right? We all want to feel validated and part of the process, and not just a worker bee. You want to feel somebody who's creating and giving back to the system. So have the team help you do that kind of stuff. Like I said at the beginning, they do a lot of the work. They're the ones in the trenches. I've worked big corporate companies before I owned my school. And we a lot of times just felt like a worker bee, and we had no input on the process. And the higher ups were in the ivory tower, as we called it, making directions, but they had no contact with the actual customers, the endpoint. We did telephone sales and retail sales, and they'd come down with these directives, and we're like, we know this is going to work. And we weren't just being pessimistic. We just knew by, data saying, okay, we talk to the customers day in and day out. This is not what they're asking for, or we try it out and say, okay, yep, the customers are rebelling, and they didn't care. They thought this was a good idea. So they would just go with it. And that was super frustrating as an employee.
Yep.
So, when I opened my business and now I feel like that's one of the biggest things I help to contribute, is that my employees are not just employees. They're part of the process. They have to be. You can't just do it all alone, and you don't have every great idea. Then not all the great ideas are going to come from you. There's a lot of people on your team, and they can all have good ideas. So go with it. And what might not seem like a great idea can be verbalized and then made into a great idea by the team discussing it and taking one little nugget from someone else and then developing it into something that really, really works. So definitely make sure you lean on your team a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's we all have ideas where it sounds great in our head, it even looks good on paper, but sometimes implementation may be a little bit different. But that's where we workshop it, and we start to refine it a little bit, and what we could think is a bad idea with a little more help, from our team or from mentors or consultants, whoever can help us flush that out a little bit more, and now it becomes a business changing idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And the team can have those aha moments for you.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah, excellent. All right, next question I had, and I really liked this one here. Post it up for you. All right. Can you share a big mistake you made in business and what you learned from it? Oh boy, can we? Oh boy, can we? Too bad the show's only an hour.
You just want
too
one.
Bad the show. It's only
yeah.
One. I mean, the show's only an hour long, and we only have 45 minutes left of it, because otherwise we could take up the whole day with this one. Especially, I mean, for me, especially prior to meeting Brandon and sort of going that route of having a mentor. And that was probably one of the biggest mistakes. And we'll talk more about that too. Some of the other questions kind of tap into this, is not having a mentor, business consultant, somebody to work with. And I know Brandon says it all the time, like, you're a black belt in martial arts. It doesn't make you a black belt in business, and if you're not, if you don't have the business background, if you didn't necessarily go to school for it or whatever, you just you're winging it. You're just bringing it, day to day, thinking, this might work, and throwing whatever against the wall and see if it sticks. Having somebody in your corner who has gone through those mistakes and has done that and is successful. And I'll say this, successful in the way you want to be successful, right? There's a lot of successful people out there, but you need to find a mentor, consultant, somebody who is successful in the version of success that you have, because everybody's version of success is very different. One of my instructors' school has been around as long as I've been alive. Literally, he opened it the same year I was born. I tell him that every time he says something, just to kind of twist it a little bit on him. But he's got a successful school in a very affluent area in our state, and but it's been one location, with enough students to keep him happy and doing. And I wish him all the best in the world. That is his version of success. So I don't look up at it. I don't look down on it. I look at it as, that's awesome. If that's what he wants, that's what he's desired, that's his version, go for it. It's not my version. It's not my version of success for me, but I'm happy it's his version of success for him. So, I wouldn't necessarily look to him for business advice. Clearly, he must know something about business. He's been in business almost 50 years. But his business isn't where I want my business to go. So how would I look to him if he didn't do it for himself because maybe he didn't want to or didn't know how? I'm not going to judge. I wouldn't go to him for that because he doesn't have that knowledge in my eyes. So I'm going to go to somebody who does, who's been there, who's at that point where I want it to be. And I was lucky enough to come across Brandon, and not that I'm looking to the Joneses, you know what I mean? Looking over the fence, that's the kind of business I've always wanted to have. A couple of locations, doesn't need to be more than 2 or 3. Students, around 400 to 500 students at a clip. Somewhere in there, comfortable enough to have a team that I don't have to be there every day. I can teach when I want to teach because I love teaching. That's why I started teaching. Well, my school, but we don't want to have to do the grind of every single class every week, day in and day out, without any vacations. You want to have that ability to go and do. So that's what I did. So my biggest thing would be make sure you get a business consultant, a mentor before you even open the doors.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of mine as well too, is invest early in mentorship, and with right mentorship too. There's a lot of mentors, a lot of consultants out there. Make sure it's the right fit for you and your vision. It's like you were saying, like, if they're not one, if they don't have the same version of success you do, then you need somebody that resonates well with you and things like that on there. I'll give you a different one because that was one of mine as well, as having that mentor. But I would say before you ever open the door, make sure you have done your homework. So make sure that you have done a demographic study. You have some sort of a business plan, like a full-fledged business plan yet, but make sure you have some type of business plan in place. Make sure you've done a demographic study that and know what your version of success looks like. If you can have those 3 things before you ever open the doors on there, and then it's a mentor, I think that will, I believe that'll take you a long way into success.
Yeah, and I agree too, because we didn't do as much of a demographic study as we should have. It certainly wasn't fleshed out. Our business plan was weak at that point. And we're still looking at it. And I've been with Brandon for a long time now. We're looking at it again. We have a lease here in Woburn through the next, we just passed 3, we're hitting 3 years, so 2 more years in this location, and we're double checking, like, is this the area we want to stay in? We've had growth. It's not at the level we want it to be, and we're coming to the terms with, like, maybe this just isn't maybe either where our price isn't right for this area. Maybe it's somewhere, maybe it's, the next town over, which is a little bit more affluent, and we can charge the prices we want to charge or need to charge. It's always, and it's nothing set in stone. We're not saying, all right, as soon as that 2-year lease hits, we're out of Woburn. No, we're always looking at our business. We're always looking at the state of the business, the strength of the business. Is this the right spot? We're not married to anything. Just like I'm not married to my curriculum. We look through it every year and see if we need to, move things, not abandon things, just move things into an area of the system where people can be more successful at learning it and get really good at it, So it's the same thing with the business, the location, everything. Like, is this the best spot for us? And do we need to make changes to make an even bigger impact, to make a bigger growth that we want? So That's that's one thing we didn't do. Like I was in a town teaching, and then one of my instructors shut down, and I opened up in the next town over because the rent was cheaper. But I was still a babe in the woods when it came to business.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean that was the best idea just because the rent was cheaper, right? There might be a reason the rent is cheaper, because that town doesn't necessarily have the cash flow that you want it to have. It's a different working class town. Nothing wrong with that if you're going to, but it depends all on your version of success. What do you want it to be? Well, if you want to be where we want to be, maybe this isn't the place we need to be. And that'll be a hard decision. We love this town. We've been here 15 years this year. This is our 15th year. We're coming up on our 15th anniversary. You know what I mean? To think about pulling up stakes and going, to a different town that's a huge decision, huge commitment. But something we'll continue to look at over the next couple of years. And that's one thing too, is when you make a decision, you make a choice. Don't stay married to it and dig your heels in just because I made that choice and I want to see it through. Revisit from time to time. You need to revisit. It's not moving the way you want it to move. You need to pivot.
Yeah, I think that's 100%. Like, you got to know when to pivot. You got to know exactly when to do that. And again, I think the majority of the martial arts industry can share a similar story of the way they open their business. Not everybody opened in the area that they should have. So some are there and they do very, very well, and it's their version of success and things like that. So I think there's a lot of different factors that go into that to decide on where you should open. Just like what you should charge. I mean, it's not. I love whenever I hear people say, "Well, McDonald's charges the same amount for a hamburger no matter where it goes." We're not McDonald's and we're not serving hamburgers. So there are a lot of factors in that. And you've got to be very flexible in some of that stuff, so that way you can make the best decision for your family, your business, your team, all those things, because where you're at now, and again, like you said, you got a amazing facility right there. I mean, it's a beautiful facility, and I've only seen pictures in person, but it looks amazing. And most school owners would be like, nope, we did all this build out, we're here, they dig their heels in, like you said. But if it's not going to get you to your success, you've got to pivot. You got to make some changes.
Yeah. And people do it all the time. Small companies, big companies. Right across the street from me, there was a Starbucks. It wasn't working in that location. They shut it down. They moved literally like a stone's throw the other way down the street into a better area from that Starbucks. They didn't just dig their heels and go, well, we're here and we're just going to keep re-signing this lease. They signed with the same company, the same company that owns the building. So it's not like they're trying to get away from that company. They just signed a lease with them down the road into a better spot, better parking, better area. It's still the same town, but it's a much better location because they realized that location just wasn't producing for them the way they want. So they moved, and that I know because my brother-in-law worked at this one. So I know exactly what it took for them to move. That was it's a huge undertaking, even for a large company like that, to dig up everything and take all your equipment and move everything to it and build out a new Starbucks location is a lot, So, as a small company, I love this space. Right. This is like literally my dream space. When I was 15 years old and I started teaching at 15, I started when I was 8 martial arts, but I started teaching when I was 15. And I've always kind of had that idea in the back of my mind, is when I found that love for teaching, I want to have my own school someday, whether it be under my instructor's umbrella or my own, whatever. At that time, I didn't know. This was the kind of space I dreamed about, and then when I met Brandon and I saw his, camp room, activity room, like that added to it. And I have all that, between my pony wall and the space and big open high ceilings and no poles in the way, like the, nice floor length mirrors, like everything was sort of fell into place in this location. It's in a bit of a strip mall type area, tons of parking, super busy streets, one of the busiest streets in the town. But that doesn't mean I'm married to it. What we did here, we can do somewhere else. We can reproduce this somewhere else in a better area, if we need to. So again in a couple of years, and now we will start to look at it and look at the numbers over the next couple of years to see if that makes sense to do or not. So but we'll do it. It doesn't mean we can't replicate this somewhere else and have something similar to this, so why not? Doesn't mean you have to take a step backwards, try to make a step forwards. Every time you move, try to make a step forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. All right. So I've been throwing out the questions. Anything you want to jump in with?
No. Let's keep rolling with them.
All right, cool.
These are great
This is
questions.
a good one. This is a good one here. I like this one. And again, if anybody out there has any questions, they want to ask something, we're happy to expound and talk about it. This is a very casual conversation today. I like these kind of shows. Like I love the direct, this is our topic show. And then sometimes I just like the open-ended. We can cover a lot of different topic shows. So this is what we're at today. All right, let me post this one up.
Oh, yeah.
All right. How do you effectively handle criticism or negative feedback in your business? So obviously that can come in a lot of different forms, whether it be internally, people are still in your business and maybe they're sitting in the viewing area, just chirp, chirp, chirp. You know what I mean? We say, the cancer of the school, because that starts to spread when they do stuff like that. And then of course there's the client who have left and decided to post a bad review maybe. So there's a lot of different things that can happen when you're talking about criticism. But how do you handle, let's say, I'll start with you, Joe. How do you handle the internal, if there are people, just negative people inside the business?
So inside the business, I mean, that's one of the things to where I feel like if it's gotten that far, there's been a lack of communication. So I believe that we've got to sit down and not in the old school way. And whenever I say that, I mean not in a way that is come sit in my office and let me have the power position kind of thing. It's no, let's sit down as equals. If it's a team member, can we go sit and have a cup of coffee outside of the school? If it's a parent, can we go to a part of the school that is a little bit quieter and sit as equals there and discuss what are and people say not to take it personal. Well, your business is personal. I don't think you need to let it affect you emotionally that way. Like to me, it's taking it personal in the fact of I want to provide the best service that I can. So, and a lot of times with some criticism and things, it just may be they may feel like they're lacking something from the service. And again, going back to clear communication.
Yeah.
Are we following through with our promises and things like that? That told them, and keeping that up. So I think that's a couple of ways to do it. Whenever it's coming from inside the school like that.
Yeah, the inside of the school one, again, to me, that would be the hardest one to deal with, because you want to take care of that as soon as possible and get and squash it as soon as you can. But you're right, communication, if you feel like, or you hear things going on, it is your business and it's your time to sort of stand up and do what you need to do, which might just be having a conversation with the person, be like, hey, I feel like there's some stuff going on, and using positive language, just like, we want to see if you're having any struggles or if there's anything we can do to make the experience better for you or your child, and just get it out in the open, obviously privately, so you're not opening it up to everybody else, and just let them know, that you're there to help and you're there to make it better. The external, you get a bad review. That's a pretty simple one. You can't please everybody. Some people just get a hair across them and just want to spout, so the best thing to do is just handle that professionally. Just respond in the best possible way, saying, thank you for your feedback. We'll continue to try to improve our experience. And, at the end of the day, use a system like ChatGPT You know what I mean? And ask it to write a very professional response and copy and paste the review, copy and paste the feedback, write a very professional response to this feedback, and then create, take it, copy it, and make it your own language, but use that as a good starting point. I've done it, not necessarily on feedback because we haven't had that, but yeah, we've had to do that in the past, and it works wonders. Make sure this is a good tip. Make sure that when you do anything, if somebody is saying something or accusing you of something, make sure when you respond to them, you ask ChatGPT, I'm responding to this. Is there anything that, if let's say a lawsuit was brought against me, would be damaging in a court case? It will filter out really fast and will give you alternatives when you're saying like, oh, sorry, we didn't mean for that to happen. You don't want to say things like, yeah, my team dropped the ball, right? Because you're just admitting things like that. But there's very professional ways to go around saying that and being like, telling them that you're sorry and that you'll continue to look at your systems and update and things like that without saying, yeah, our fault, sorry. But run that through real fast, and it will help you a lot. Kind of leads into one of the other questions somebody was asking about the tools or apps to stay productive and organized. And I like a lot of people, I love chat, I love AI, and I hate AI at the same time. You know what I mean? I've been around long enough that it doesn't scare me. It's frustrating, and I see where it's going and how it can create in the studies already on what it's doing to people in their brain and kids in school and teenagers and college students and who use it too much, and against those who don't. So there will always be a billion opinions of it, but it's a technology and it's out there and it's not going away. So either learn to, I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't say embrace it, but learn to utilize it to your best efforts. Don't run your business on it. Don't do everything you do by it, certainly. But when there are times that called for it, leverage it. It will help. It's not going anywhere, and it's continuing. If you're not doing it, Joe Karate down the street's going to. They're just going to get a step ahead of you faster.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to embrace new technologies.
It's one of those things to where it's. Yeah. It's a tool, and you need those tools, and those keep those tools in your trunk. Don't let those tools drive your business. So don't let it sit in the driver's seat.
Yeah. So that, to me, that's one of the things. Like, again, if you're with the negative feedback, things like that, make sure you're using the right tools. Bounce it off of people. If I've had anything like that, I've definitely bounced it off of Brandon. I've bounced it off of people. Certainly my wife. Going over things like that. And just avoid knee-jerk reactions. Because like you said, it is your baby. Like, this is your thing. This is like, somebody says something about your business, you kind of get that, you call my kid ugly, response, and everything starts going up. You know what I mean? You got to learn to calm down and take it. Because I've seen it. Like, I've seen it out there, and I've seen people respond in really bad ways when they've gotten a negative feedback or criticism of any kind. And they start like going on this wicked attack. I'm like, this is a really bad road you're heading down, and you're digging your hole even deeper by doing that, and I've seen that a lot. And it scares me. It scares me when I see that. All right, let's see. So next question. I think we kind of answered that one already. We answered how important has mentorship been. I think we kind of covered that. So while I'm looking for a different question, are there other apps or tools that you use that you like to use for your day-to-day, keeping you organized?
Keeping organized, of course, my Google Calendar is always number one on my day. For me, is tools for my day, and that's really about it. That, using ChatGPT, there's certain tools, certain apps and things like that we use inside business to help with some of our systems and things like that. But as far as like driving our our day type thing, no. I mean, that we keep it pretty simple.
This question I like. I don't know if you saw this question. If you had to, we kind of answered this a little bit. We're going to go a little deeper. If you had to start over today, what's one thing you would do different? Now you can't say mentor. We already talked about that, and you can't do location. You already talked about that. Give me something a little bit more specific.
You have to tell me again. I lost you there for a second.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, start over today.
If you had to start over today, what's one thing you would do differently? And you can't say mentor, and you can't say demographic study and location. I want something more specific. Hey, Letitia.
That's a good one, Letitia. That's a real good one, honestly. Without those two things, well, I would actually spend time on my brand, because whenever I first opened, my brand did not work in there. So, trying to figure out, exactly why people should come train with me, why, why us versus some other activity or things like that. Not even why another martial arts school, but why us versus some other activity that your child could do, or that, they could participate in that. So really spending time with that, and really understanding, those things to start, that would be probably one of the biggest things, because I think we would have that whenever we first open the doors. The trajectory of our business would have changed a lot faster.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely for us, branding the school appropriately, and really taking more time. Obviously 15 years in, I have a lot more knowledge about the subject. So I don't mean I don't know everything, but I know a lot more than I used to 15 years ago. So when we started to rebrand, it became a lot a better path for us. So yeah, if I had to do it all over again, I would say, yeah, if I knew then what I know now, definitely a different, a more concise brand that meant something to everybody. And life skills as well. Life skills, having a clear life skills component from the get-go, and spending more time. I think bigger thing, not just researching, because we talked about demographic, but like researching more on what I want to do with the school, spending more time on that, and not just being like, all right, I'm over to school, I'm going to run some classes, and everybody's going to show up, and this will be fun. So researching and having a clearer path and plan of what I want the school to look like. That's definitely. Oh, Letitia has a comment. I'd love to read this. Let's see. I would spend more time learning and setting boundaries with clients, not checking emails after 5 p.m., trying not to work on weekends so I can have more work-life balance. Sorry, Letitia, I'm a nightmare, and I'll talk to you tomorrow about my bookings.
Yeah.
Just kidding. So we good. Yeah, no, I agree with her. I agree.
That might have been both of us.
Yeah, that was she might be responding to both of us, but that's true. I mean, there has to be limits, and you have to have work-life balance. And that was one of the questions, by the way. It was how do you deal with that, your work-life balance? But so we can go into that. It's tough. You're running a business and you own the business, so it feels 24/7. Like I said, I worked at a company who was 9 to 5, and when 5 o'clock hit, I could care less. You know what I mean? I care less what people were buying or people needed, or when their stereo was going to get fixed, or when their shipment was. I don't care. Now I care. If it's 10 o'clock at night and somebody's texting me because they want to book a birthday party, it's like, I'm on it. I got to get this birthday party, book or answer this question about a birthday party or whatever it happens to be. So yeah, it's definitely, and I feel that need. I feel that need to be like, I need to respond right away. And I don't know that necessarily the person on the other end feels like, oh, he's responding now. It's 10 o'clock at night. Or if I don't respond, like, why isn't he responding? Right. It's only 10 o'clock at night. At some point you have to make that choice for yourself and just be like, yeah, this is my work time, and when work time is done, it's done. My hours of business are here. And if you get me after that, I'll get you tomorrow during business hours. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's obviously it's a hang up. It's a thing that we live within our world because back in the day, as they always say, the news was at 11, news was at 7 and 11. That's it. It's the only time you got news. You wanted to make a phone call, you got to get home and hope somebody wasn't on the phone, and you got to make get mom off the phone so you can call your friends. Now everything is so instant. You can get in touch with anybody, any moment, anytime, no matter where. Brandon's in Japan. I've already talked to him a couple of times instantly. It's tougher now. So everybody, a lot of people do expect that sort of like, all right, well, I know I can contact you and you will see it instantly. Why aren't you responding instantly?
Right. Yeah. I think definitely having that work-life balance, being able, and again, it is a struggle whenever you become the owner of the business, right? And whenever it's your baby, you want to make sure it's done in a timely manner, that kind of thing with it, versus being an employee, having a job, you're there for the time period after that. But I do believe that we need to create that balance in there. To allow us some downtime, some time to recharge. And again, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with that, is that you guys said that the other person may have sent the message because that was their most convenient time to do it. They may not be expecting you to respond right away.
Yeah.
In there, so that's where technology is great again if we utilize the way, can we set up an automatic response that happens at a certain time that allows for us to hey, thank you for reaching, we'll be in contact with you the next business day by this time or something like that, or after this time the next business day, and just allow that and then just let it be from there. So
yeah, because it is such a 24/7 environment, and Letitia's right, and making sure that folks understand that Sundays are about God and family, at least for some of us, right? That's right. And not responding on off hours. Yeah, absolutely. That's a tough one. That's a tough one for me, and I've had to work on that myself because my wife works at a job where she doesn't have that luxury. She doesn't have off hours because she works in a medical type field. I lost Jason. My wife works in a medical field. I'll just keep rolling with it. So she doesn't have the luxury of being like, well, I'm off hours. She manages this. She's the director of the place that she works at. So there is no off hours. If somebody has an emergency, she's the one on call 24/7. So, it can be frustrating. We've had times, 2:00 in the morning, she gets a call and she has to go into work, and we have a 5-year-old. So that can be, that can be frustrating. Like, oh my God, you're taking away, not 2:00 in the morning, but you're taking away family time because you have to go to work. It balances out. She has her vacation time. She has great medical coverage and pay and things like that. So it does balance out, but it can be frustrating, so you have to find that time to have that work-life balance and keep open lines of communication. Oh, Jason's back. I think there he is. You're back. Still there? Wicked delay. Hey, welcome back. So yeah, having that work life is super important, and yeah, and Letitia's right. You need those responders, those autoresponders, like Jason said. Be like, yeah, thank you for the reaching out. We'll get back to you tomorrow during a business hour. You know what I mean? That's super important because we do feel like we have to reach out. We have to respond right away. Right, like that's one of the tenets in business, especially if it's a lead, right? You're supposed to contact, you're supposed to be back on them within a minute. You got to be, responding back. So that can be tough. At 10:00 at night, as they're scrolling the web, is not necessarily 10:00 in the night. You're sitting there waiting for people scrolling your site and asking you questions. So yeah, I think, striking that is the best way to keep it healthy for yourself. And that's really what we're talking about, is keeping yourself healthy, because you want to keep your business healthy. But if you're not healthy mentally, physically, your business is not going to be healthy. So you got to keep yourself healthy. Absolutely. Anything you want to add to that before I move on?
No, I think that was great.
Let's see. Second, I'm gonna look in here. All right, let's see. The next one we have on deck. While I'm doing this, if anybody else has any questions, let me know. Yeah, I'll take that. I got it. All right, thank you. Sorry about that, gang. All right. Prop that up. This is wonderful for a podcast. There's a lot of visuals happening on a podcast, which is mostly audio. There we go. All right. Get that one. That one. What's your morning routine? And how important? I like this one. How important is to your success? Morning routine. Let's talk about morning routine.
Yeah, I think your morning routine is what drives success that day. For me, part of my routine is go through each little detail of everything. But for me, after I get ready, it's helping my kids get ready. Fixing lunch boxes or like that, or cooking breakfast, that kind of thing with it. Anything to do with them, the family time, and all. But yeah, I think having a set, consistent morning routine, just like what we write for our business, it's a system. And I think we go through it without even thinking about it, because all right, I get up, I go get a shower, I get ready. From love to get my workout in the morning.
Oh, he just likes popping. All right, so I'm gonna pick up where he left off. Yes, morning routine is super important. I work very hard to get a consistent morning routine. It doesn't always happen. My biggest part of my morning routine is from waking up and seeing my wife there in bed and giving her a kiss and tell her good morning and I love you, and then being able to see my son when he comes into the room, or if we go get him up, or summertime obviously different than school time, but being able to see him and give my son a hug and tell him good morning and that I love him, and just that's super important to me. One of my important routines throughout the day is hugs my wife, hugs my son. Especially with kids, they say I think it's like 3 to 5 really good hugs a day is what is very healthy for kids. And we're on it. Believe me, I'm on it. I'm on the big hugs. I'm a big hugger. So, I like to spend time with my son. We have the one, and he just turned 5, and it's been a very fast 5 years, as anybody who has kids knows. That moves rather quickly. The years are long, but the days are short. You know what I mean? Like it's weird. Or actually, it's the way around. The days are long, the years are short. That's the way it goes. Did I backwards that?
There you go.
Strike that, reverse it. So yeah, like that's part of mine. And my wife goes to work early, so I work in the afternoon. She works in the mornings, right? So she's off by like 8 o'clock. So during school time for me, it's the same thing. It's get up, make the lunch for him, get him set for the day. Spend a little time with him in the morning, you know what I mean? Just do some stuff play with him a little bit in the morning, and then get him off to school and see him off to school. And I'm very, and I will say I'm very blessed to be able to have that, that routine, because, growing up, my mother did that with us, my father didn't. So having that sort of structure, like that family, the father goes to work and the mother, which is obviously not what happens a lot these days. I'm very blessed to still feel like I get to do that. Like that's for me one of the best parts of my life, is that I get to see my son, and a few days a week I get to actually pick him up as well, and bring him to his grandmother's house or whatever for sitting. And a couple of days they pick him up, and then I'm blessed now that my team is so developed and so strong that I get to take a day off here and there, and I have a regular day off. We call it Daddy Day, where he gets to spend the whole day with me. Obviously, with no school, it's the entire day. When he has school, it's after school, and we go get to do stuff together. And it's just the two of us until Mom gets home. And that's just a wonderful work-life balance for me as well. My business is so important and it's always on my mind, but to have those times where it's just me and my family, whether it's me and my wife, me and my son, all three of us, just being in that moment. And and I'll get on my wife about this sometimes too, like, because she's not at the business, but she's very involved and she wants to know about the business. She wants to know what's going on. And I love that about her. But sometimes, like, you know what? I'm here right now doing this with you and him. I don't want to talk about the business, not because I don't love my business, not because things aren't going great. I just want to be in this moment. And our son is talking to us about some nonsense rainbow friend thing that he's talking about. And you know what? To me, that's the most important thing right now is what he's talking about. It's pure nonsense because he's 5, but it's important to him. So it's important to me to be there and be present with him and know that let him know that this is the most important thing right now in my world is the silliness that he's talking about. And I love it, and I want to make sure I validate that for him, so that's super important for me to keep that balance and keep that morning routine going because he loves getting up and telling about something. So I'm right there with him. Like, all right, buddy, let's talk about whatever. Let's talk about, your PJ Masks or your Paw Patrol or now it's Rainbow Friends. I know I was a kid. It changed every 5 minutes.
Oh boy.
It still does. Now I'm into F1 and Lego. To ask my wife, he's into something new every other week.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, morning routines are important because it keeps us grounded, as well as keeps us connected, with family, with friends, with our team, different things like that, because it is that, it's just that's the place that keeps us, kind of keeps us in check. If you skip a part of your routine because it's out of sorts or you run or you feel off the rest of the day, I don't know why, and then things can snowball from there if you let it.
Yep.
So being able to be consistent with that really helps out and helps out your mindset.
Yeah, 100%. And you own a business, and if you let it can definitely be 24/7. So don't let it be 24/7. Because you will burn out faster if your every waking moment is about your business. And I love my business, but there are more important things in my life. You know what I mean? If I had to, something happened, heaven forbid, and I had to close this down and go do something else. You know what I mean? But I'm not closing down my family and doing something else. You know what I mean? That's it. Right. That's with me. Right. You know what I mean? That's the most important thing. So
the one thing
that morning routine to get me going.
Yeah, it's the one thing I heard Brandon say a couple years back. First time I heard him say it, you can't get him to ask again for it. And anybody that follows me on social media knows that the first part of this year was really rough with my youngest son, with some health issues and some health scares with him, and that drove home even more then for us. So now it for me it just kind of that extra check. Right there. It's like, yeah, if they're doing something, I am there. And it drove me to develop my business better so that way it can run without me, because that's my version of success right now is me sitting in a ball field watching my kids play ball. If that, so being able to have that opportunity to be able to do that, because I can't go back and tell one of my kids, all right, hey, I got time to watch that game now. Can we go play it?
Yeah.
So I never want to have that type of regret with it. So having that balance in there is super important.
Yeah. And I know personally my own life, like my father was always with us, but he was never around. Yeah, he worked. He owned a business. He owned a gas station, a repair shop. So he worked like early morning to late at night, and so we didn't get to see him very much. So we didn't make that connection. And the other part that the issue that I deal with on a daily basis, that when he did have free time, he did his thing. He liked soccer. He liked it. So it wasn't like, all right, I have free time. Let me go play G.I. Joe figures with Marco. It was, I'm going to go play soccer. See you guys later. It's like, okay. I don't necessarily know that for me, that's the right thing to do. With me, it's, I look for every chance, every time to spend time with my family, with my son, and do things that he wants to do, and put my phone down. Like Letitia was saying, and Letitia said it goes by too fast. She's 100% right. 5 years is a blink, and
Absolutely.
But if I'm with him, it's phone down and let's play. You want to play, Marble Run? Let's build the biggest Marble Run we can fit in his house. I bought 2 Marble Run sets so we can build bigger Marble Run that he wanted. It's like, I don't care. Let's do it. And phone down. I'm not answering a text. Work can be on fire, and that's fine. I'm spending this time I have with him because I'm going to have to take him to his grandmother soon and go to work. So let's spend the morning doing this what that you want to do right now, and the phone calls and the texting and that stuff is just, it's not important. It will keep, and you can get to it, but you can't get back that time with your family and stuff like that. So
absolutely
spend it, be there. So, all right, I think that's a good place to end it. Now that we just ended up in a really nice up note, let's go through some of our bookkeeping here. Remember, we have It's Time Live Freedom coming up November 8th through the 11th. It's in Millbrae, California, just a few minutes from SFO, which I loved. The Millbrae Pancake House is right there, and you'll love them. We'll see you there, and also the you'll look on the website and you'll see the Millbrae, the hotel that we use. Book that hotel. It is wonderful. We really like this
amazing
place that we've been going to the last few years. So definitely check that out. So hopefully we'll see everybody there at It's Time Live Freedom. If you're looking for a discovery call, we'd love to jump on with you, do a free discovery at It's Time Group Mentoring. Go to brandonbeliso.com. Check us out there. We didn't get to have Monique on today. She's in camps, so she wasn't able to come in today.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll get her another time because we still have a few more of these to do before Brandon comes back. We still got a few more Success Never Sleeps before Brandon comes back. So we'll jump on with you guys again next weekend. All right. As always, you can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, everywhere podcasts are. Some of these may be out there. I can't remember. There's something that needs to go, but definitely check them out as well. Link with us on the It's Time Group Mentoring page. We have a public page now. We have a private and a public. Check us out on the public page where we do tips and things like that and have discussions with everybody. So check that out. Obviously the Success Never Sleeps page, the Disruptor page, check us out on there. Anything else, just go to brandonbeliso.com. Let's give one more shout out to our sponsors, to SA, Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, Kin Creative, all great services that we use. We love those teams. They're amazing. Yes. Oh, Letitia said, remember to tell the hotel Letitia sent you. All right. She'll let you know. I don't know if there's a group rate or something going on, but you want to let them know that you're part of the It's Time Live, and Letitia sent you. They know her very well. Letitia's amazing. I believe Letitia's going to be out there. I'm sure she'll correct me if I'm wrong. Hopefully she is, because it's not an It's Time Live without Letitia. My wife's going to be there. That's my son's going to be there. My in-laws might be there as well to keep my son busy. We'll see.
Nice.
Hopefully going to take out my main team member this year. So we'll see. Sorry to spring that on you, Letitia. Check on the books for that. So we'll see everybody out there at It's Time Live in November. All right, Jason, as always, thank you, sir. We'll chat offline another time and go over some stuff that we need to go over. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody. Again, this is Success Never Sleeps for August 1st. What are we going to go out there and do, Jason?
Live our best lives.
Let's live our best life.